Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Kirk from LaneFlix Media. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Demon Knight from 1995, directed by Ernest R. Dickerson. This is a request from the Film Buff on Twitter, and shout out to you, man. I'm doing Demon Knight for you. So here we go. I really dig the opening. It's really fantastic and musical. It has almost a Tim Burton, Danny Elfman aspect to it that I really thought was cool. And it's really funny, the fake out at the beginning where the Crypt Keeper is a director. The moment where the actor playing the undead zombie character says, "Where did they dig this guy up?" And the guy who says that, it's funny because it's a silly pun type line, but it's also great because it's that guy from Night Court, and that's the only thing everyone knows him from. Literally, I watched it with my parents the other night, and all three of us were like, "That's the guy from Night Court." So I don't think the guy really, I don't know, I haven't looked up his IMDb. He's probably done really good movies, and I'm gonna look like a jackass saying this, but I don't know him from anything but Night Court. So, oh yeah, and the puppet, the Crypt Keeper puppet, is really cool. I loved how his mouth and his face moved around. He had this really creepy quality to him that I thought was funny, but creepy at the same time. The showdown at the beginning between William Sadler and Billy Zane is pretty great. It's very schlocky, movie trope type stuff. And it's kind of funny they do that in the beginning because it is trying to set up that it's going to be a certain type of movie, but then it gets really crazy and really unexpected things happen, and it kind of becomes an Evil Dead type weird killing demons movie. So I thought that was pretty cool. And yeah, right from the beginning, you know something is up with Billy Zane's character because he gets right up from this insane car accident. So there's something supernatural or super powered about him somehow. So, and apparently William Sadler stole something from Billy Zane, and you don't know what it is at this point in the movie. The whole hotel situation with all the characters when they get there is really depressing and strange. It's not at all what you would expect. It's not really conventional in any way, because yes, they're introducing characters, that's a little bit conventional, but the way they're introduced and the environment and the circumstances are very atypical. So I thought that was cool. It's kind of fresh, you know. And yeah, the Billy Zane and the police who he's riding with, they all show up and they're looking for some type of relic, they say. And then it's pretty great. Thomas Hayden Church, who I mostly know as Sandman from Spider-Man 3, just being honest, but I know he was in Wings for a while. I think he was in Cheers for a little while, and he's done a lot of really good dramatic work too. So really cool actor. He has a line in this movie that's hilarious. He says, "My nipples are smoking," because he and the prostitute that are there at the hotel, I guess, hook up jumper cables from a battery to his nipples. For some reason, I guess they're into that. I'm not gonna kink shame, but that did not look safe. So Thomas Hayden Church is really funny, and then Billy Zane ends up punching one of the cops through his head. So Billy Zane kind of does this quick turnaround punch through the head type thing, but he literally punches through the guy's head, and then his face and his skull and stuff are wrapped around his arm, and it gets stuck on there. He keeps trying to fling it off, and it won't fling off. So it's funny, but in a dark, really screwed up way. The effects are actually pretty good. There's some scenes obviously where the demons are gonna look cheesy and stuff, but the effect of the head on the arm and then the gore and the blood are all pretty accurate, and they're very animated, but they're also very dark and creepy in a way too. And so there's a realism, and there's this just scary element to what's happening, and I thought that was interesting. I wasn't expecting it from a Tales from the Crypt movie. I was expecting I knew it was R-rated, which is a little bit more hardcore than the TV stuff, But I'm not like a big Tales from the Crypt guy. I haven't watched a lot of it, and so I didn't know what to expect fully. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It has some Evil Dead level gore, and it has some cool one-liners. So, and then Billy Zane at one point cuts his hand, and he's got like antifreeze looking blood, and he like just kind of he throws it like here and there on the ground, and that creates these little demons that come out of the ground, and that's like his army. So I thought that was kind of cool, but like weird body horror stuff. I think it's really like just funny and novel that Dick Miller, who's this guy who was in Roger Corman movies from the 50s, he was in Gremlins, he's been in all types of different stuff, showed up in this. And then you can have a movie where Dick Miller and Jada Pinkett at the time, Jada Pinkett Smith, are in the same movie together, and they're just like friends in this universe. I just thought that was cool and kind of like interesting and funny. You know, it was like it's just two characters you wouldn't expect to see that are friends. You know, I thought that was sweet. CCH Pounder is as good as she always is. She has this frantic look on her face pretty much the whole time, and you can tell that I think she was really excited to be in a horror movie. I don't know what the outlook was for her. I don't know if it was just a paycheck, but she did really good in it. And then William Sadler's character Breaker, he actually has these visions, and he sees what seems to be Jesus and the two thieves that were crucified next to him, and it's really interesting. Like the religious imagery in this is really surrealist and kind of unsettling. It's almost like a fever dream because it's given to you mostly in flashes. There's a few times where you get extended shots for 30 seconds or so, but there's not really a whole lot of exposition with that stuff. So it's just interesting how it's presented and how fast it goes by, because you're like, what? Like at first, when you first see it, it's very, there hasn't really been a whole lot of religious imagery at all in the movie, so then when that pops up you're like, what? So it's kind of like whiplash, but you get used to it, and then it does end up tying in. So and yeah, William Sadler's character is Breaker. I keep calling him William Sadler. Breaker is holding this thing that looks like a key, and I first thought it was going to be like in the Bible, I think it's in it must be in Acts. Jesus gives Peter the keys to the kingdom, like the key that made him the first pope and all that stuff. So I thought maybe it was that, but it's not. It's a whole other key that has nothing to do with that. So I was just like, okay, that would have been like I think a clever way to tie it in to like that period of time, but it wasn't mentioned or anything like that. So it's kind of funny. Thomas Hayden Church says something to oh god, what's her name? Cordelia. He says something to Cordelia. He says something about having friends. She goes, assholes don't have friends. I just thought that was a funny line. And if you think about it, it's true, you know. Thomas Hayden Church, he ends up smacking Cordelia, so it just kind of goes to show where he's at and how he really doesn't care about her. He says that. You're like, oh, maybe he's just acting tough, but no, he really does not care about any of them. It's really cool. So when Cordelia is by herself, you start to hear Billy Zane's voice, and it sounds like he's standing right behind her, the way they have the sound design, but it's just because he's in her head. He's actually outside, and he's not even moving his mouth. He's not talking. He's just, telepathically communicating with her, and I thought that was a nice touch. It was a cool little way to make him seem seductive to this character, and to I don't know, it was just creepy and seductive at the same time. It was weird. Cordelia really gets a great makeover when she lets Billy Zane in, and yeah, she looks pretty rough. But the gore again in this scene, and then her makeup also is like super Evil Dead, like American Werewolf in London, like really top-notch looking effects. So I was surprised. I mean, maybe not on those levels, probably Evil Dead, because the Evil Dead movies have never had like the best effects, but what the effects are showing is always just so crazy it doesn't matter. So this kind of had that mindset, this kind of had that feel to it, where it was like gore every 5 minutes, and it was cool because it wasn't super like red bloody gore. It was mostly green and like weird alien fleshy crap, so it wasn't like cutting up people that much. CCH Pounder loses her arm, but that's like probably the most explicit human gore we get, so it's not that bad. I really don't think this should have been rated R, except for maybe the language. Oh, and there's a lot of nudity, but it's I don't know. Rated R, like the rating system is so ridiculous. Oh yeah, and then when Dick Miller gets possessed, and his face, like, because he's standing behind the door when Breaker and Geraldine come in, and he kind of looks around and the kid is like hiding behind something in the room, so he's like, what? And then yeah, Dick Miller comes out from behind the door and he's like, ah, and he's got his face, and the makeup is just so great, and then they added this like glow to his eyes, so I thought that was really cool. It's pretty funny. Thomas Hayden Church decides to double cross the whole team, so he makes a deal with Billy Zane, and Billy Zane of course stabs him in the back, and as Thomas Hayden Church is about to leave, he's like, one more thing, I lied. So it's kind of that classic like mustache twirling villain type character, and he's pretty funny. We get an arrow in the eye. That's the first arrow in the eye, and then we get another one later. And the comic book editing is really cool. Like the kid, or like it'll just be sitting in a room, the kid will be holding it, and yeah, it's a comic book, and what's going on in the movie is kind of reflected in the comic in some way, if not like frame by frame. That was pretty cool because Tales from the Crypt, if I'm not mistaken, started as a comic book and then went into television and then movies and stuff, so it's just a cool little throwback to the roots of the series. And yeah, that little kid, when the little kid, I want to say his name's Danny, gets possessed, he is freaky as shit. Like his makeup, like his head like comes up off his body kind of, so that's super Evil Dead, like how the bodies get deformed and weirdly shaped and all that. And then his tongue, he has this really long tongue, and it like goes into Breaker's chest, so he's like ripping him up and stuff. It's just like, oh god. So that was pretty creepy, because the kid himself is creepy when he's making his like demon face, but then when it changes to that effect, it's just like, whoa, like it was really screwed up. And then yeah, it's kind of weird. So when they first discovered that kid, Breaker puts the key up to the kid's head as if to test him, or like to make sure he's not a demon or whatever, but then he is, so it's like, why didn't he react at all? And then the other thing is, like, why did this random thief who was given the vial of blood of the carpenter on the cross, why did his blood work? Like, it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. Is it because there's that 1% of like the good blood still, or the original blood, that like whatever blood mixes with it? It's kind of like the holy water concept, where you put a drop of holy water and, a huge vat of water and it's all holy water type thing. I don't know if it's technically true, but I've heard that. Yeah, it just kind of doesn't add up. It kind of doesn't add up how the thief had magical blood too, unless that's the case where the original blood, there's always a bit of that in there, so it all mixes, whoever's blood, or like whoever is, sacrificing for the key or whatever. I don't know, it's really convoluted, they don't really explain it. So yeah, there's a visual right out of Nightmare on Elm Street or The Frighteners where Billy Zane's now talking to Geraldine, Jada Pinkett's character, and there's this big wall of it just looks like a plastic sheet, it's pretty well done. It's not bad, but it's just like how Freddy pushes on the wall in Nightmare on Elm Street, or how the Frighteners, how the wall goes in like that. It's that same thing, except it's a painting of Jada Pinkett's face. So I guess it just adds like a personal aspect to that. I don't know. It just seemed like a little rip-offy. It was a nice visual, but it felt a little derivative. So, oh yeah, and it's really funny. Thomas Hayden Church is standing on the balcony where they have the trail of the holy blood or whatever that's has the barrier up so the demons can't get to them. So looking down at the ground at them, and Thomas Hayden Church like hawks a loogie at one of them, and then they growl back at him, and it makes his hair go back. So it's like, holy crap, these things are powerful. Like, just a growl from 30 feet away still makes his hair like fly back. I just thought that was crazy. And then Breaker looks over at him and he goes, "Hey, they hate that." And it was really funny because obviously no one likes being spit at, you know? Like, I don't know. Oh yeah, and the kid, in a weird way to like prove himself, I guess, before he goes demon mode at the end, he grabs the demon Dick Miller's head and like smashes it onto these antlers, and there was like a super Evil Dead type action scene. I thought that was really cool. And it was really great, like as soon as the head goes onto the antlers, the eyes like shoot out that green gas, and it just looks really cool. There's a lot of cool visuals in this movie. And then yeah, it's really funny when Billy Zane's making the deal with Thomas Hayden Church. I'm kind of jumping all over the place, so sorry, but when he's making the deal with Billy Zane, and Billy Zane flips the sponge out of his mouth, I don't know why, I just thought that was so funny and like clever and in character for the character he was playing. And then yeah, CCH Pounder and the deputy sheriff suicide bombing the demons is like super badass. It's really good. She has a good one-liner at the end, and then there's a really good explosion, and yeah, it was pretty cool. And then yeah, we get a little bit more of that comic book editing. So I think this is where actually the kid is sitting reading the comic book, and what's happening is being reflected as he's like flipping the pages and stuff, so it's pretty weird. And then yeah, we get a pretty darn good death scene from William Sadler as Breaker. When he dies, he's like mid-sentence, and then he just like passes, and it's actually really natural and a lot better than I was expecting. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that was better than I was expecting, and there's a lot of stuff that just kind of lives up to what I was expecting, so it's pretty good. And the ending, it does get a bit drawn out, especially for a movie that is has built up as much as it has. And yeah, the ending kind of drags out because I think they were trying to go for something different, which was cool, and it's not, you know, it's fresh. It's not a committee type movie, you know. It seemed like a very just like telling a story type movie, which are my favorites. But I just felt by the end, like by the time William Sadler's character dies, Breaker, it's like super drawn out, and I don't know, it just seems like they're spelling it out for us too much, you know? I like Billy Zane. I think he's a good actor. I never liked him before I watched Twin Peaks, and then his character in Twin Peaks is actually really cool, so I don't know, I guess I gained respect for him as an actor because of that. And yeah, his line delivery and his performance in this specific movie are really good. He is one of the best parts as far as the actors go of the movie. Yeah, I mean, it's an overall pretty cheesy movie, but it's got some cute like horror sci-fi ideas, and then like I said, the acting from Billy Zane and William Sadler. I think William Sadler was just a little more like he was trying to downplay his character, which for that character works perfectly. So yeah, I think the actors were all really well cast. The characters were well cast. So and then yeah, it's pretty funny. Right at the end, the Crypt Keeper says, "I asked for final cut and I got it," and then they cut his head off with the guillotine. I just thought, like, wow, that's a funny like movie gag to put in Tales from the Crypt. And yeah, I mean, it's just reminiscent of the Tales from the Crypt show and the stories that the show gave us. And yeah, like for how silly the movie gets and how kind of goofy it is, the production value and the acting and the writing are all pretty great. So yeah, I think that elevates it. On Instagram, I gave it a 7.7. I'm gonna keep that. I was gonna rate it a little bit lower, but it has some pretty cool stuff going on, and it's a good movie. Thanks, Film Buff, for requesting this. really appreciate it. If anyone else has requests, you can comment here or hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. Yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, if you know anyone that digs movies, send them my way. I'm going to put my handles here. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This was really fun. I love interacting with you guys. So thanks so much. I hope everyone has a great day.